Now for the $64 million question, which in light of the current Powerball numbers seems like pennies. Just what exactly is a real conservative? And while we're here being real, let's talk about Bernie Sanders, his rise in the polls, and what all that Clinton cash means when we get right down to voting time. All right, toss out the red meat, begin picking through the bones with this edition of the Political Animal, the thinking man's liberal, which to some conservatives would be a misnomer, but we are proving it with every appearance. The senior political contributor at Forbes, Rick Ungar, joined by the former head of FEMA, meaning nothing gets past him when it comes to how Washington works, ruling the afternoon drive airwaves along the Rockies. 6:30 KHOW in Denver, Michael Brown. Gentlemen, welcome back in. Let's get right to it. We got a lot to cover here. So, Brownie, I'm going to come to you first here. John Sununu, the former governor, says that Donald Trump is a phony. He is no conservative. He's all mouth. He's thin-skinned. He has no substance. I think he used everything in there he possibly could, but he's saying he is not a real conservative. What is, in light of what the party needs right now, a real conservative?
Gosh, I come to think of it, I don't know, because I think everything that John Sununu just said is probably true. But I think a conservative is probably someone who believes, who sincerely believes, and can show that it's just not talking points, believes in limited government, lower taxes, less intrusion into our lives, and more liberty, a true liberty, freedom-loving individual. Is that Donald Trump? Heck, I don't know what Donald Trump is.
So let me come to you then, Rick. What is a real conservative, in your opinion, that could then go after and really beat a real liberal come the elections? What is that?
Well, look, I mean, if you do this by way of textbook, a true conservative is somebody who seeks to conserve the better parts of days gone by under the point of view of, hey, it worked well then, why are we messing with it? Where a progressive is allegedly always looking to try new ways that'll propel things further down the road. Those definitions have obviously been deeply perverted, and now it's hard on both sides. You ask one progressive what they stand for, they'll give you a whole different answer than another. Same with conservatives. I will quickly add, though, that Donald Trump picked on the wrong guy when he picks on Governor Sununu. I may not agree with Governor Sununu very much, but I happen to be very fond of him because he's a straight-up guy who's going to tell you what he thinks.
And Trump actually said, can you believe this guy? He was fired like a dog, and he doesn't even realize it. My dog is insulted, by the way, because he doesn't like that at all. Just wanted to point that out. Here's something else for you now. Carly Fiorina, who we had earlier on the show, and Carly said she's in it, she's sticking around here, and she is angry. But the one thing that she said that really caught me, Rick, is when she said Donald Trump would lose to Hillary Clinton, said that Hillary Clinton would, quote unquote, wipe the floor with Donald Trump. You go with that?
Yeah, I suspect she's right. I think, with every passing day, those of us who would have been very sure of that at one time are definitely leaving the door open for a different result. It's certainly possible because we've been wrong about Trump virtually every step of the way.
All right, let me turn to something else here, Mike. Let me go to the debate that's coming up because Carly Fiorina is no longer there. At least she's not on the main stage. She's on the junior stage now. Ben Carson comes out today and says, I'm going to take the gloves off. I won't be so polite this time around. I'm sorry, but I like Dr. Carson. He's a nice man, but this just seems to be like the last gasp here. And I can't, honestly, I love the man. He's so brilliant, but I just can't see him getting down and dirty in the mud.
If you have to say that I'm going to quit being quite as polite as I've been in the past, and I'm supposed to interpret that as meaning you're now going to be tough, game over. I'm just like you.
Right.
Ed, I think Dr. Carson is a genuinely great human being, but for Pete's sake, it's not presidential material. And I'm sorry to say that because, like you say, he's a great guy. But making that comment, I think, showed that he's just not ready for prime time.
I think it's a little bit of desperation, but then again, if you look at some of the numbers, people will say that he is still in it. Okay, let's talk about the other side here for a minute, Rick. Bernie Sanders says Hillary Clinton is in serious trouble. She's attacking me on guns, taxes, and a whole lot more. And I'm looking right here at some numbers as we speak. The poll has Sanders leading Hillary Clinton by 14 in New Hampshire. Rick, I don't think anybody thought that might happen.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now in the Clinton campaign, and again, a lot of question marks. I don't think the polls are what her problem may be. I think there are other things at play here. We're all getting word that the FBI is now digging into the relationship between she in the State Department as the Secretary of State in the Clinton Foundation. That is potentially exceedingly damaging. All this says to me is don't think that the Vice President's out of the race quite yet, because we might see him again.
Exactly right.
We got to talk about that another time here, because there's a lot of legalese to go in there as well, but we definitely have to do that. I got 60 seconds left. State of the Union comes up tonight, Rick. Joe Biden puts out a statement today saying, we're not slowing down. 30 seconds to you. What do you expect of anything substantive to come out of the State of the Union?
Anything that could come out substantive is going to be trashed by this whole open seat thing in the president's box. It was a big mistake. There are lots of groups out there who have had people die who they'd like to see open seats for. I really think that's going to cast a pall over the whole thing. Big mistake.
I think that is a brilliant point. 30 seconds to you then, Mike. Same thing. And do you think Nikki Haley's the right one to do the Republican banter back?
Well, first, I agree with Rick. I think this is going to backfire. I also think it's a contradiction in terms. It's kind of funny to say State of the Union and substance in the same sentence. I don't think we've seen that in decades or since Washington delivered the first State of the Union message. And as far as Nikki Haley's concerned, look, I like Nikki. I think she's a great person. But my fear is that once again, Republicans are falling into the trap of playing identity politics. Let's put someone on there that has slightly different color of skin, slightly different color of heritage, and say, oh, look, we can play this game too. I'm not sure that's a great idea.
And we also have people saying that she would be the perfect vice presidential pick for, dare I say it, Donald Trump. We are going to save that for another day. That will take up an entire hour. Michael Brown, Rick Ungar, thanks so much for joining us, guys. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And also, don't forget, State of the Union, 9 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, 6 o'clock Pacific Time. I'll be hosting right here on Newsmax with the full political panel. Stay with us. The Hardline continues.